be in a mindset as an owner that every shift needs to be perfect. Every meal that goes out of your window needs to be perfect. Every customer experience needs to be
customer service
and everything, consistency and everything.
Yeah, quality means nothing if it's not consistent, right?
Right.
You could have crap food, but if it's consistent,
it's kind of uncomfortable, right?
For me, it's not uncomfortable.
Right. It should be. And that's kind of where.
So when you hit that crossroads, like that's when I think the brand identity really comes
that
to
might be a aesthetics that he's going for.
So
I think it might be different.
So it is different.
It
is different because he's based out of St. Pete.
Right.
So St. Pete it has that vibe.
I want to go back to one of the segments or one of the topics that we talked about on the last episode, and it's the importance of your brand, right? And your brand is basically the name that's on the side of your food truck, right? That's what people see. That's how people are going to recognize you. Sure, there's a lot of things that go into branding, like your logo, brand colors if you have them, brand fonts if you have them. But that's really diving down into the marketing aspect of it. But let's talk about what building a brand means and why it's important as it pertains to any small business, really, not just into a food truck.
You just said something right there that clicked. Is when you sit back and you think about creating a brand, right? Is it identifiable, right?
Right.
Like, what's the identity of your brand?
Well, if you do it right, you don't even have to have a name.
Exactly.
Right. So like, it's your logo. Like
exactly.
how many companies over the years have had their logo
redone
or removed the name and it's just the logo. Apple.
And that's the thing. Right?
Apple doesn't say Apple anywhere anymore.
Absolutely.
It's their logo. Starbucks doesn't say Starbucks.
Chick-fil-A.
Right. It's the logo.
Chick-fil-A has changed their marketing.
Right.
And I think that progresses over the years, but
Amazon, Amazon by the little smiley face.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to say Amazon and you know what it is.
But it's
right?
like one of those things too, is like when somebody's first starting out, or first creating their food truck or their food truck trailer, like it's hard because, you think of something that may be catchy, that you like, the colors flow well, the name is good, the name's available.
Right.
Right. But then you do it for 2 or 3 years and say you've had huge success for those 2 or 3 years. And now now you're at a point in your business where you're about to take this thing to a brick and mortar, or you're going to take this thing to a food hall, or you're about to expand. So when you hit that crossroads, like that's when I think the brand identity really comes into effect. When you first sit down, I think the first thing that you have to look at and get right as far as branding is visuals, right? Like, what does your truck look like? Are you buying a
banner or a vinyl?
Yeah, like are you just magnetically sticking a banner on the side of your trailer? Did you just buy Uncle Joe's retired lawn trailer? And just cut out a window, so now you have a mobile home window as your serving window. Like, it really starts there, because when we're driving around town, or we show up to a food truck rally, or we show up to a community with multiple trucks, like when I walk up, I'm going to look at the best looking truck first, right?
Yeah, but what about those people that don't have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to put into a truck? And, a lot of businesses start from humble beginnings. So how do you take something where you don't necessarily have the money to buy a professional concession window or to get a $5,000 wrap? Like, what do you do in those circumstances that can help set you apart and help put your best foot forward?
Whatever your budget is, or however you're going to start, if you don't have $5,000 for a wrap, don't go out and get a $25 gallon can of paint, you know what I'm saying, and roll your trailer, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's, if you're balling on a budget, right, and you're
there's good ways to cut
you're getting into this in a budget, like, you really need to be focused on what it's going to look like visually. Like, I mean, you don't have to go out and get a $5,000 wrap. There's multiple trucks out there that don't have $5,000 wraps that still put out, quality food, quality service. It may take a little bit longer to get that customer to your truck, because you're not the one that's standing out. a perfect example is Vanchetta.
Okay.
Vanchetta. Like,
I've never
what an amazing guy.
Andy. Yeah, Andy Dolan.
An amazing guy. Extremely humble. Loves and has a passion for food. And it's crazy. When I first seen his truck, I told Carlos when we were at Citibank, I was like, this truck is spray painted. He's like, don't worry about that truck. Go try the food. Bro, once I had that sandwich, the porchetta,
Yep.
the original, everybody that I met.
But is that like the aesthetics that he's going for?
So
I think it might be different.
So it is different.
There's like
It is different because he's based out of St. Pete.
Right.
So St. Pete it has that vibe.
That truck it's got pastel coloring on it. So it was spray painted basically, not with cans, but it was professionally done. But it's got the whole pastel coloring where all the colors are kind of washed together and mixed together.
It's just not your traditional truck that you would see because 90% of your trucks, if not more, either have a wrap or they have a banner or they just have or it's just a flat, they went and bought a black trailer or a white trailer with a base and then they just put one. Yeah, they just put one like their logo on it.
Right.
Yeah, but see, I think that's a perfect example of how you can make your visuals work
absolutely
without getting a full wrap. One of the things that your brand should stand for is being clean, right? Because no one likes to eat from a dirty kitchen. No one likes to walk into a fast casual restaurant like a Chipotle or a Moe's and seeing the line dirty, seeing food all over the steam table, seeing that no one's wiped down the tables in 20, 30 minutes, right? No one likes to see that. And it's no different than when a customer walks up to your food truck. They're looking through the window. Even if you don't think that they are, or you don't see them actually peering up, over your counter, they're looking as they walk up to the truck. How many customers in the middle of a shift stand at your back door and watch, you prepare everything, right?
Definitely.
And it's kind of uncomfortable, right?
It's for me, it's not uncomfortable.
Right. It shouldn't be. And that's kind of where I'm glad you guys answered that way because it should never be uncomfortable for a food truck for someone to stand at your back door or peer into your window, and you should never be afraid of what they're going to see. Food trucks get a bad reputation, and they have a bad reputation in certain markets or in certain people's minds, really, about the cleanliness of food trucks. And I think it's one of those things that we battle each and every day where, even our health inspector, right? Like we ask our health inspector, hey, do you eat off food trucks? And she goes, absolutely not. And when we asked her why, she said, well, you haven't seen the things that I've seen out on the road. But the same goes for restaurants. Not every restaurant is clean and not every food truck is clean, right? But I think one of the old perceptions or one of the old ways of thinking were before food trucks became popular, there were a lot of roach coaches out there and lunch trucks. And, they weren't the gourmet kitchens that they've become now.
That's essentially where it all, started.
Right.
Was, the quote unquote roach coaches going to job sites, especially like the blue collar job sites, construction.
Yeah.
And then, the barbecue trailers that, Uncle Bill just put a smoker on the back of a lawn trailer and went out there and started cooking up food. Like, I think that's where it all originated from, but it's
been a natural progression.
Oh, absolutely. It's metamorphed into something that's way bigger.
Right.
We have physical rolling restaurants.
Right. So cleanliness is subjective a lot of times. So when you look at it, it's, everyone has their own definition of what clean is. And the sad part is that the health department doesn't even shut you down for not being clean. It's more of making sure your food is safe, right?
Yeah.
So,
your floors can be dirty. You could have never cleaned your hoods.
Right. And it doesn't matter to the health department, but let me tell you who it matters to.
The consumer.
Right.
100%.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You've got to worry about it because perception is reality, right?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of times where, you're doing an event, say you're doing a food truck rally, right? This has happened multiple times where you're doing a food truck rally in a neighborhood. There's a new family that just moved in, right? They're from a neighborhood or a state or their old place that they never had food trucks. So this is their first time eating off of a food truck, right? Because they got the flyer, they seen the Facebook post or something like that. Like, oh, it's a community event. Let's take the
Check
kids
it out.
down there and check it out, right? It's like this is somebody that has never experienced a food truck before. Like this is their first time, you know? Like that's what you always got to think about. Like this could be somebody's first time.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in retail. Like back in the day when we've ran retail our whole entire lives, like you could have that consumer coming in and they have never purchased the item, you know, that your store sells, right? They know nothing about the item. They've never purchased one. They've never tried it on or anything. So like, what does that look like? Like what kind of interaction are you setting up? Or what kind of expectation now are you setting up to that consumer? Like
we shoot for perfection, right? And I say it all the time, and I know that it frustrates you guys, and it frustrates the team. And it's like, hey, like we have to be perfect, and perfection's not reality, right? I know that we're not going to be perfect. I know that there's probably not a single shift that we've ever worked that's been a perfect shift. It's just really. It's almost impossible to do. It's almost impossible to execute. But if you're not shooting for perfection, right? If the goal isn't perfection, what is the goal? And what are you okay with when you miss the goal? Because our goal is perfection every day, and we miss that every day, right? We're shooting for 100%, and we're coming in at 94, 95, 96%, which for us sets us apart from everyone else because everyone else is coming in at 80, right? But the point I'm trying to make is your goal needs to be perfection. You need to be in a mindset as an owner that every shift needs to be perfect. Every meal that goes out of your window needs to be perfect. Every customer experience needs to be perfect, right? Because you only get one opportunity, one shot.
when you talk about branding, you have the 3 big C's. That's what I like to say.
Okay.
It is customer service,
Yep.
consistency, and cleanliness.
Consistency in the product.
Yeah, absolutely.
The-
if you don't have
The customer service.
And everything.
the
Consistency
quality,
and everything.
Yeah, the quality means nothing if it's not consistent, right?
Right.
You could have crap food, but if it's consistently crap,
Then the people that like it will come back.
exactly, they know what to expect.
Long term, you're only going to have success if you stand for something in the business, right? And for food businesses, it all goes back to cleanliness, food quality, customer experience, right? I mean that pretty much sums it up right there. And then the marketing and the aesthetics of it are its own thing. But if you're clean, if you have good customer service, and if you have good food, that's a great starting point for building your brand. You just have to remember each and every shift, those things have to be in the forefront. The reason branding is so important is because it's creating a name for yourself, and it's creating recognition within the marketplace and setting expectations to what a consumer can expect from you each and every time, right? So cleanliness is a big part of that, right? So if your truck is clean and it's clean every time, then customers are going to know you for being a clean truck, right? If your customer service is good, if you pay attention to what your interactions look like at the window, and whether it's you working the window yourself or you have an employee working the window, like you want healthy interactions, right? You want them to be engaged, you want them to talk to customers, and all of a sudden you've created a good customer experience. So now you've got cleanliness, you've got a good customer experience. Your product. If your product is good, right? Your food it's quality, it's consistent, it's fresh. Now you've got cleanliness, you've got a good customer experience, and you've got good food, right? If your marketing's where it should be, right? Now people look at your brand, and you've got brand colors, you've got a logo, you've got an identity, you're identifiable in the market. Those are all things that create a brand.